evening. Welcome to JazzTalk, an education program from the Center for the Performing Arts. I'm Julia, and I'm the Director of Education and Community Engagement at the Center. Now, before we start tonight's program, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Center. We have folks registered to join us tonight from multiple states and even from France. So I'm going to guess you maybe haven't been able to join us in person. We're located just north of Indianapolis, Indiana, in the beautiful city of Carmel. Our campus consists of 3 different venues. We have the Palladium, which is our beautiful concert hall, which is where Paula is going to be performing on October 20th. Then across the green space, we have another building which houses 2 theaters, the Tarkington, which is our 500-seat proscenium arch theater, and the Black Box Theater called the Studio. We have 6 resident companies, and we present artists in multiple genres from all over the world. We're really fortunate to have this wonderful facility right in the heart of Central Indiana. Now, we are all excited to talk to Paula tonight, and I'm sure you all have questions for her as well. We're going to take those questions at the end of the program after Todd and Paula have had a little chance to chat. But you don't have to hold your questions till the end. As soon as they pop in your head, if you're joining us on Zoom, if you put your cursor over the bottom of your screen, you should see a little Q&A function. If you don't mind, use that instead of the chat for your questions. We have folks joining us on Facebook tonight. We want your questions as well. So please feel free to type those in the comments and we'll get to those as well. Now, with all that being said, I want to tell you a little bit about our 2 guests tonight. Todd Williams is our host of Jazz Talk. He hails from among the finest woodwind artists in today's music scene. He is a sought-after saxophonist, clarinetist, flautist, and clinician. He is currently an assistant professor of music education at Indiana Wesleyan University, where he serves as the instructor of the Jazz Ensemble and Jazz Combo. Todd has appeared as a guest lecturer and conductor for the Juilliard Jazz Orchestra and earned his doctoral degree in music education at Indiana University's Jacobs School of Music. Originally known for his saxophone and clarinet work with Wynton Marsalis Quintet, Septet, and the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra, Todd has been honored with such positions as assistant professor at Queens College in New York City and the music director of Times Square Church, where he penned a variety of contemporary gospel choral works. His flagship composition, We Proclaim Him, has been a featured international favorite since 2003. Todd has performed at most every prestigious venue in the US and abroad, from multiple performances at the White House to Carnegie Hall to the Hollywood Bowl. He's been a featured artist in Europe, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, Canada, Mexico, and South America. Extensive recording with Wynton Marsalis decorates his list of accomplishments, as well as guest appearances with such artists as Sir Roland Hanna, Harry Connick Jr., John Hendricks, Scotty Barnhart, Terrell Stafford, John Faddis, Jeff Hamilton, Marcus Roberts, Michael Mossman, the Newburgh Symphony Orchestra, the Marion Philharmonic Orchestra, Darren Atwater, Slide Hampton, and the Grammy Award winner, Christian McBride. Todd is a 4-time recipient of ASCAP's Plus Award for Composers, and his very latest jazz recording, Introducing Quartet Trio, is now available on all streaming platforms. Now, our special guest tonight, Grammy-winning artist Paula Cole. She has never been afraid of speaking complex truths. With a musical catalog defined by honesty and deeply personal lyrics, carried by her powerful, radiant voice, Cole always had a gift for discerning the underlying humanity in stories from her own life, as well as those around her, and channeling those emotional elements into captivating music. Paula has released 11 solo albums of original songs and has performed with icons in many genres of music, from Peter Gabriel to Dolly Parton, Herbie Hancock to Emmylou Harris, and Amy Lee of Evanescence to Burt Bacharach. As the first woman in history to solely produce and receive the Best Producer Grammy nomination for her album, This Fire, Paula has broken boundaries. From her top 10 hits of the 1990s to her more recent, critically acclaimed albums, Paula continues to write, produce, record, and perform heartfelt, meaningful, lasting music that defies categorization. More recently, Paula has rekindled her love of singing jazz, which was her initial ambition as a student at Boston's Berkeley College of Music, where she currently serves as a visiting scholar. Her double album Ballads include the timeless titles like Skylark and Autumn Leaves. Her latest release, American Quilt, is not just a geographical tapestry of American history. The breathtaking collection is a cavalcade of blues, jazz, folk, pop, and gospel with Paula's remarkable voice. It is a roadmap of Americana, jazz, and standards. And we are just so fortunate to have Paula and Todd with us tonight. And Paula, we are so looking forward to your performance in the Palladium on October the 20th. So Todd and Paula, can you turn on your cameras and join us? There they are.
Hi.
Hi,
Everybody.
welcome.
Hi, Tom.
Hey.
Hi, Julia. Thank you.
Turn off my camera and go silent until you guys are ready for the audience Q&A.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Julia.
Paula.
Hi,
Hey,
Tom.
hey, it's so great to have you. And I'm excited to ask you these questions because, I mean, I know your audience is waiting to hear answers to questions, but also too, you know, musicians, we have this thing in common. And I'm actually curious to find out if some of your answers to these questions are what rang true in my mind as I thought them up. So let's just start with you and Madeleine Peyroux. Double bill concert on Thursday, October 20th at the Palladium. Have you ever played the Palladium before?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, you're in for a treat. I mean, they have the most fantastic crew. It's a beautiful venue. The people are just going to eat it up. They're going to love it. And so you're not going to have to work hard that night. It's going to be just, it's just going to roll out, you know, so be forewarned in a good way.
Okay. I can't wait.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to.
I know sometimes
right.
you play the acoustics of the venue, and these when it's that beautiful, it's like another band member almost, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I can totally vouch for that. That's yeah, I think you'll find that the acoustics are great. And then what's not there acoustically, they have a great crew. The sound crew is fantastic. And so they'll give you whatever you need, you know. So you and Madeleine Peyroux, tell me how you guys met. Like, how'd you become acquainted well enough to want to do, you know, a double billing, you know, type, you know, tour?
We have the same manager, so that's how we met. You know, it's not very interesting. But the first time I met her was on a Zoom like this. We had a conversation together and we caught up, you know, over Zoom. It was wonderful to learn about her her beginnings in Paris and busking, like really paying dues through busking the streets of Paris and New York, which is very different from so many of us who've had a more academic experience.
That's right.
Or maybe just growing up by playing with a band. You know, if you're in maybe in a more of a pop or rock band, you kind of, you're just shedding with your band members in a garage, or, you know, and then building gigs from there. But her experience is just so unique, the busking experience, and and kind of rougher and more real. So I do dearly appreciated that, and a good human being. So I think we see that we both worship at the altar of music. We are both here for the music and are dedicated to what we do. So it just feels kindred. And it feels nice too, because our bands, I guess she's thought of more in jazz than I am, certainly. And I don't even like labels. Like, we all mix and blend and cross-pollinate, really.
Would you even say that you complement each other? Would you, in other words, like, would you say your musical style complements her style? I mean, does your music co-sign what she does, or?
Yes, I think so, because she's playing a lot more standards than I am. I tend to, you know, I might play a couple and then I launch into my catalog because I have so many original songs, and that's really what I'm most known for is
Yeah.
my writing. So so people kind of know the classics that she's singing more. And then I go into my songs. So that is a little different and complementary, but we're both
Yeah.
highly acoustic and,
Yes.
jazz steeped band. All of our band members are like really steeped in jazz as their informing background.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of connective tissue.
Yeah. So, you're getting up there with, when you start talking about hundreds of compositions, I mean, that's like Duke Ellington territory. you know?
Oh, I would never put myself into
Well, it's a lot of tunes. Let me just put it that way. It's a lot of tunes. And do you have a name for your style? Like, I mean, has anybody ever asked you that? Because surely you must, at some point, you must meet some people who are not into music or whatever. And then they're going to say, oh, so what do you do? And you're going to say, oh, well, I sing. And then they're going to say, well, what type of music do you sing? And then what do you say? Is that a hard question?
Like, it's so impossible. I used to go,
Okay.
meaningful modern music.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
don't know what to
Okay.
say. That's so weird. Or like highly personal. I'm a highly
Okay.
personal songwriter. Like it is,
Okay.
it's like a living autobiography,
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. And
Okay.
that's always been my problem. If you think of a great term, let me know, because
Okay.
or maybe any of you out there are like watching right now, and thank you for being
Right.
here. How would you like? I would love to know what you think too. Like, how do you categorize me? I hate being categorized by my age
Oh,
or
yeah.
or my gender or my
Right.
skin.
Right.
Like they just do that. Like they
That's
put you
right.
in a group based on what you look like, as opposed
That's
to
right.
what you sound like, or
Yeah.
what you actually are. Um, so no, it's highly personal, and it's informed by really diverse, eclectic sources.
Sure.
So no, I struggle with that. It's meaningful and it's highly personal and it's art.
Okay.
It's really art. It's not like I'm not here to be entertaining or have
Right.
hits, which I did, but I'm here to like make the best art I can make in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So
Well, see, I
that's
think you actually answered that in a very defined way, to be honest with you, because so much is shoved into one corner or the other corner, and people have to have a category for you, even with social media or streaming platforms. They have a category, and they have you fill out a form to say, well, is it in this box, that box, or that box? And I don't know what you do when you fill out those forms, because
I know
it doesn't really fit.
it doesn't, and even
Yeah.
if you look at all my albums, they don't. It's just I'm just exploring. I'm on a long path of life, hopefully, and I'm exploring, but it's art, it's my art. So it's just my personal take on my life in
Hmm.
snapshots that become albums.
Okay.
So that's all I can say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So, tell me something. You've toured other countries and stuff. Do you think that you and Madeline have different musical sensibilities due to growing up in the States versus growing up in Europe? Do you feel like there's anything there, that there's this thing that I hear that is coming from Europe that she experienced that I did not experience, but you know, I've got my thing, she's got her thing. Do you feel like that, or do you understand the question?
I mean, I think so. She actually did grow up in, I think, mostly Georgia.
Oh, she
And then,
did. Okay.
yes, and then she, somewhere in her later teens, she went and lived in Paris, and she was highly influenced. I can't remember his name. His name was Danny, and he was a band leader. He lived on one of those riverboats on the Seine, and
Oh, nice.
he really created a culture and fostered this kind of family of sorts, like homeless musicians and young kids
Okay.
who were finding themselves in music. And she was in that clan.
Mhm.
There's a documentary out about it. It's really quite extraordinary to see. So I think that was really huge for her,
Right.
finding Danny and starting her busking, and
Okay.
the importance of lyrics. Like there was one night I botched a lyric. Back in Black Mountain, a child will smack your face. It's Black Mountain Blues, Bessie Smith,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
and I I didn't say back in Black Mountain. I said like down in Black Mountain because
Okay.
I just forgot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
That
she
happens.
came up after the gig and she like chewed me out because back.
Well, next time you miss a word, make sure you miss it really good.
I know.
So yeah,
The lyrics matter so much to her, and I think
no,
that's
yeah, I could see
wonderful.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see that. I guess I'm kind of that way about harmony, like I talk to my students all the time about, what you find in certain publications, those are not the chord changes, and
Yes.
and the musical canvas is not complete unless you're at least are informed what it was originally, So I have my students go back to the original song books and say, pull that out and let's look at the original harmony, let's look at the lyrics and find out why in the world we're even playing the song. And
Wow.
they are amazed because they're like, wow, there's so much incredible harmony, and these writers, they really cared about, what they were writing. And even though it may have been for a Broadway show, it was amazing. Their ideals were so high. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, that says a lot.
I loved hearing about that you worked with John Hendricks. That's
Oh
amazing.
yeah. We had such a fun time together. We did a concert, and this is supposed to be about you, but I'll tell this little quick nugget. We did a tribute to the 100th year of the New York Philharmonic, and we didn't have a band; it was just saxophone and voice. And
Wow.
it was a treat. He treated me to dinner over his house, and he told me all about Charlie Parker, and he played these really rare cassette recordings of Bird playing tenor sax, which
Wow, what a
is unique,
gift.
And then we rehearsed this little tune. It was a sort of a, a parody on Mac the Knife, and it was Dig Phil Harmonic. It was so fun, and it was just hilarious. We were just rolling the whole time.
Oh, what a
But
gift.
yeah, he was a great friend and a very dear gentleman. Oh my goodness, he was the greatest. He was the greatest.
Wow.
So yeah, like he had tons of stories, and was an amazing musician. Oh my goodness. Some of his bebop lines, when he would sing, and I would just my jaw would drop, because I would think, wow, he just rattles this stuff off. It just comes out of him.
Who
And
does that? I mean, there's really only been like a few in
that's
history.
right.
Do
That's
that.
right. That's right. His diction, like the way he says certain words, is just amazing. And he can make his voice sound gruff. He can make it sound smooth. He had different effects that he would use to bring out expression, different ways of saying specific words. You know what I mean? And all of that, it just gets to a deeper level of musicianship. So
Totally. What a beautiful heart. Wow.
yeah. So I'm gonna switch it back over to you now. Let's talk about something fun. Let's talk about Berkeley College of Music. There is so much lore, American lore, about the Berkeley College of Music. And
Yeah.
I'm curious what your experience was when you went, because, all of us musicians know about the real book, and we all know about, our favorite musicians and all of that kind of stuff. But what was your experience there?
Sure. So I went to Berkeley College of Music a long time ago at 90, it was 86 to 90. And it was kind of a dumpy jazz college. It really was. And it was very male. It was probably about 13 to 1 men to women. I was usually the only woman in my classes. And for the most part, that didn't bother me. There were definitely awkward and difficult times with that, but it kind of prepared me for the music business, that inequality, because, I've usually been the only woman on the tour bus or in the van or in the band and so on and so forth. So I got used to it, and my dad taught me to be a good camper, so I didn't complain.
Right,
And I
right.
would, so, I just like tried to be the best that I could be.
Yeah.
And so I thought I wanted to be a jazz singer, because
Okay.
I grew up in Rockport, Massachusetts. It's like the tip of an island of Cape Ann.
Yeah.
And literally, like, the FM signal didn't come in very well. I didn't get to hear some of the hip stations, and I missed a lot of like pop and rock that was being listened to by some of my peers. And
Right.
so I arrived at things like the Beatles really late. I arrived at a lot of pop music really late. So meanwhile, my parents are highly musical. My father would work weekends as a bass player in a polka band, because that was actually like the best paying gig when I was a small child. So he would do that, but then he'd also come home and play a Duke Ellington song on the
Oh,
piano,
yeah.
or folk classics on the guitar. He was explorative, and he made music fun,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so he would just maybe like break out into blues. He also had a big upright bass at home, and he
Okay.
just played everything. So what I was taught was that music is self-made, music is
Right.
fun, music is about expression. If you've had a hard day or if you're frustrated, you can put it into the music, and it takes care of you, it heals you. So that's what I realized. And I had this kind of pivotal moment when I'm going beyond, like well beyond before Berkeley here, but
Yeah, yeah.
about when I was 14, I had an accident with my foot, and I had to wear like an, ugly orthopedic shoe for a long
Oh, yeah.
time. And I couldn't walk places. I couldn't take part in PE. I couldn't be cool. I couldn't wear cute outfits because I had this ugly
Oh,
thing in my
yeah.
foot. And I was so frustrated. I just started sitting at the piano more and more, and music was there for me. So that started my serious application to music.
Right.
And then, through high school, I'm developing confidence. I'd go off to the little camps and things and see if I could do it. And I'd come home with awards and things. And, and
Yeah.
then, and then I went to Berkeley summer program, and they
Yeah. See,
offered me
this is
scholarships.
stuff
So,
that I wanted you to say that for the people, because people don't know like this side of the musician's life, like going to music camp, like the idea of like this late teen aspiring to go to music school, and maybe I'll, music college, you know what I mean? And
I do know what you mean.
you know what I mean? And it's like a really specific thing that, musicians, they don't really care if they graduate, and other people are like, you didn't graduate, and musicians are like, no, no, I had a gig, and but yeah,
No.
please go on. Yeah, tell us more about that side of you that was exploring and searching and
Right. So I remember, it was at UNH, University of New Hampshire, had a really nice little summer jazz program for a couple weeks, and I went, and like I remember this teacher told me about vocal improv, and he called it scat singing, and I had only heard the term scat from my biology father, So,
yeah, that's right.
um, so I hate that word, actually, like scat singing,
All
whatever.
right.
It's vocal
Yeah,
improv.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, just come on, just try it. He's playing a blues progression, and that's what I used to do with my dad at home. So
Okay, yeah.
I just started vocally improvising and had a lot of fun. So I got, an award and this and solos, and then so I went back to school with more confidence, and then I went back to Berkeley summer program, and they gave me scholarship money. And
Oh, yeah.
telling my parents said I wanted to go into music, my dad was like, oh no, you know.
Get a real job. Yeah, I know what you
He
mean.
had been a gigging musician. He knew how hard it is. It's
Right,
so
right.
hard, you
It
know.
really is. Yeah.
It's so hard, even for the best of the best. And um, so I remember like I was driving to Boston when I was a senior in high school to
Mhm.
take lessons with a teacher at Berkeley. He was a drummer and he
Okay.
was a trumpet player and he was also a singer. And he had me, he had
That's
me,
how we do.
he had
And we're
me,
philosophers too. Did you know that?
yes, we are spiritual consultants,
The whole 9 yards. Yeah.
healers and huggers. Yeah, we are all those things. And he had me reading out of Ted Reed's Book of Syncopation, like to learn my rhythms. And he
Oh
had me
yeah.
practicing some trumpet exercises, which I can't even do anymore, but just to start to try to get some facility and
Hmm.
understanding. And so I thought, like, I just started falling in love with jazz. I was listening to the masters,
Right.
and just, you know, while everyone else was kind of listening to pop in my high school, I was,
Right.
you
That's
know,
right.
I was, you
You were
know,
on a different plane.
I was trying to do my Jamie Aebersold 2/5s.
That's
You know?
right. That's exactly right. That's
and
right. That's where we
and
were too. There was a
I
crew of us, and
know, and
and
I
we're
don't think.
like shed and train, you know.
Oh man, you were way ahead of me. I don't think I was very good at my 2/5s.
I hear you.
You know,
Yeah.
it's really hard. Like the voice is hard. It's almost like for my standards, like there are just so few vocal improvisers that really are just so free. And
Right. Yeah.
John Hendricks being one of them, and Louis
Oh
Armstrong,
yeah.
and Ella Fitzgerald. And, you
Yeah.
know, I've just been blown away by Esperanza Spalding too. I
That's
mean,
right.
my goodness, you know,
Yeah.
she's
She's got
really
a lot
extraordinary.
of stuff together. Yeah.
Yeah, Chet Baker
And
too.
Cecile McLaurin Savant. Yeah.
You know, I haven't heard her improvise so much. Have
Oh
you?
yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
She's great.
Jasmine Horn, I've been
Fantastic.
pretty knocked out by her
Yeah. Yeah.
improv.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a chance to play with her. I think we were down in Florida someplace, but yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah. She's got a lot of stuff together. Hey,
So
let
there's
me ask you.
beautiful new crop of improvisers, I think, out there now.
Oh,
So
oh
exciting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have a lot more together than most people did when they were their age, because the material is out there and there's a lot more focus, I think, in terms of how to learn how to play, how to sing, but I wanted to ask you, so obviously these songs from the American Songbook, standard songs that we have made into jazz standards and popular songs, maybe explain to your audiences like what do you get from those songs? Obviously, you get something from those songs that is very unique and something that made you want to record an album of ballads. And so when you hear a Skylark or, um, Blue Moon or Autumn Leaves or Body and Soul, something like that, what is it that gets you,
Mm. I lived in my vocal real book for many years. It was this place of peace I would go to. I'd sit at the piano, and a lot of songs I would learn just by playing the changes. Of course, not all the changes are right in those real books, like you
That's a
said.
sidebar.
Yeah, but still, like, even
Yeah,
if, like, because then you had to buy music, or I would try to record radio programs, back then. So
right,
getting a real book was amazing, and to just
right.
flip through the alphabet and self-teach, it was something prayerful and meditative and learning. And I'm a ballads lover. I love ballads. I'm slow, I'm mournful, and I hold sensitivity and sorrow. It's in the tone of my voice. I'm not fast. Like being fast is hard for
Yeah,
me,
well,
you
Miles
know.
wasn't fast either. you know?
Yes, and I
And he's
exactly
one of the greatest musicians ever, you know?
ever.
And
Oh,
he was a little bit frightened to have to come behind Dizzy Gillespie, you know? So, you
oh
know, that idea,
yes.
you know what I mean? Imagine getting in the band after Dizzy Gillespie, you know what I'm saying? So,
I do know. I know those early recordings when you hear him like trying to emulate Dizzy a little bit, but he's lacking in confidence. And then like
right.
some years later, he's finding his tone and his sound. It's so profound. It's such
That's right.
a
Yeah,
lesson for all of us, isn't it? Is
exactly. Exactly.
heed thyself, you know?
All right. Speaking of Heed Thyself, tell me something about your roots music. I noticed that you have some folk, blues, gospel, you know, American Quilt. I mean, you're probably far beyond that recording, but you still have those elements in your music. So, what did you get out of the roots music when you first began to kind of dive into that?
You know, I roots, I don't even know what all these terms technically mean, but roots is this wonderful cauldron that holds a lot of acoustic music. And
Hmm.
that, you know, I found out like even polka is considered roots music, and people have laughed at it for so long, but like holding down that beat and making it feel funky, like my
Right.
dad would on, you know, at his gigs
Yeah.
every weekend, that makes people dance and that
Right.
makes it's joyful,
Right.
you know.
It really does.
Yes, it does. If you play it well and you have a
That's right.
beautiful feel from God, then it makes people want to dance. And
That's right. That's
right,
right.
and then there's all these kinds, so much music that falls into roots. You know, it's like certain jazz can fall into roots, and folk can fall into roots. Music and blues can, and gospel can fall into the roots cauldron. So it's this
Right.
lovely cauldron and mixture, and it's primarily acoustic, which I do love. I do love
Hmm.
that. I love real instruments, and
Right.
I try to play a real piano, you know, almost always. Like people
Yeah.
always want to have fake plastic keyboards there at venues.
Yeah, of course. Of
I'm
course.
always calling in some old girl, you know, some percussion instrument. It's a percussion
Yeah,
instrument.
that's right.
Uh,
That's it. Um, I was wondering, so I noticed specifically that on many of your recordings, you'll have your counter melody is sung by one individual. And I was thinking how, I don't know if you feel like you have a particular affinity for that, or if that just happens to be your group, or, you know, like on one recording, I saw you had the guy on bass, he was singing the counter melody. On another one, you had a gospel singer or a lady who had gospel experience singing along, you know, God's going to cut you down.
mm,
And then, you know, just this idea of having fourths and fifths and, you know, different intervals to sing along with you. And I thought, man, that is like she's got like blues gravy in her blood. Like she's, you
well,
know,
thank you.
and yeah, I think so. Like, so
It's
are you conscious of that, or are you just hearing that and you're just like, okay, come sing with me on this session, or you know, when you have that counter melody where it's two of you singing the melody?
Oh, it's just so natural. You know, I just immediately plug into it, and I always have. And when I was first semester at Berkeley College of Music, a, a friend I just met, you know, not knowing anybody there. I'm first semester, I'm 18, and they said, I'm going to audition for the gospel choir.
Mm-hmm.
Will you come with me? And I went and I auditioned, and they accepted me, and I joined, and I realized I'm one of the only white people here. And it was an experience that changed my life. I still
Right.
see Dennis Montgomery III, and I hug him and I thank him because it changed my life.
That must
Being,
have been amazing.
yeah,
It
it was
was.
so amazing. I feel tearful thinking about it.
So tell me more about that experience though. Like, what did it feel like to sing those songs?
It felt so natural. It just felt, and we learn everything by ear, you know,
Mm-hmm. Right. That's right.
um, and one of the things they make you do when you're auditioning is to see if you have rhythm. They make you sway, clap in time.
Oh, right, right,
You don't
right.
want a fast
That's right.
tempo.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, I know.
ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
you know, and you have to sway and clap in time because you don't want to be like the one white person who's going.
The opposite way, right.
Oh man, or just it doesn't matter what color you are. You don't want to be the
Yeah.
one person going. Yeah, so that it was so profound, and um so it's just been natural for me, and I don't know why, you know, and I don't know why. And that's music. It's a mystery. And who are we? Who are our souls? You know, I just connect to this
Oh,
this
yeah.
prayer that is music, and I feel it. And it's just there's this picture that my mom showed me of me when I was a baby. I hadn't been able to lift my head yet. And she said my dad would go over and start playing the piano, and the whole
Mhm.
carriage started shaking. And it's me like looking up out of the carriage. What is that sound? I need that
Oh,
sound. I
yeah.
need that music, you know, and there's my face. So they did it again and they took a picture.
Oh, wow.
Right. So like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is something about the music has just grabbed me. It's
Right,
taken me and held me, and I almost don't have a choice.
right,
I
right,
am on this path in my
right.
life.
That
Music.
I want to do that, whatever that is. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think about that with audiences, jazz audiences in particular, because, you know, we have all this music theory stuff that we can think about, you know, but when it comes down to it, none of that really matters. I mean, it
No.
matters when you study, you know what I mean? You study it and then you totally digest it. And then after that, it just comes out, you know, and
Exactly.
it's beyond words though. It's not really like a you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to use my cool lick here. You know, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? It's not a technique that you're thinking about. It's just expression. And I talk a lot to my students about expression, about, you know, I ask them questions like, you know, what is vibrato? And they think about it and they think about it. And I say, you know, vibrato is like making a note that's not moving to have motion, you know, or
Mm.
to you know, what is, you know, I always ask them, you know, what is the hardest rhythm? And they're thinking of some 64th note or whatever, you know, and I'm thinking, well, no, it's 4/4 notes and how you negotiate those 4/4 notes, you know. And so much of that stuff is really simple kind of stuff, but then when you really get down to it, I mean, you can really get philosophical with it real quick because it is it's who we are, you know, it's our language, it's our breath, it's our rhythm, it's, you know, all that comes out. So
Mm. And that natural feel, it's like God given, or it's just inexplicable, that feel and
yeah,
that little tone.
exactly,
I don't know if
exactly.
you did you get to hear Lizzo play the crystal flute that James Madison was given? They
No.
took it out of the archives, out of the museum, and I think when she was in DC last, it's all over the internet. So
Okay.
there's some footage of her playing this crystal flute that's,
Okay.
you know, a couple hundred years old.
Yeah.
Her tone is so beautiful.
Wow.
She's a classical flautist, trained to be, and but it's her tone and her
Right.
vibrato. It's so naturally beautiful. She has a
Oh yeah.
naturally beautiful vibrato and tone.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, it just can be replaced by a technique.
Right. No, we
You know what I
can't.
mean?
No, that's right.
So yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I wanted to ask you, uh, you know, some of your music, I was thinking specifically about God's Gonna Cut You Down, that to me, it reminded me of music that I would hear if I were watching a film, you know, or a soundtrack or listening to a soundtrack or something like that. Have you done work for film? And if so, tell me about how that works for you. Do you just kind of watch it and then sing, or How does that work for you?
I haven't scored. I've had songs utilized, and I would love to score. I, you know, I think of Miles Davis recording
Oh yeah.
Watching, that film,
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
The
Yeah,
L'Ascenseur
yeah.
one, where he recorded in an elevator shaft because of the natural reverb, and he basically watched the film and improvised along to it in like in singular motion, which I love so much. Like,
Oh yeah.
we tend to overthink, and he would really always try to get things in one or two, if possible, one or
Right.
two takes. And I love that concept, and I feel like we need more freshness like that in scoring in general. But
Right.
uh, I'm not scoring so much. I am starting to write a music for a musical. So that's been really challenging and wonderful, and pushing my writing chops in a new direction,
Yeah.
So that's been kind of the new direction. And
Yeah.
me being this mongrel musically, I don't even know how to describe the music yet. It's very new too. So that's kind of my newest project that's different from making more albums.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I see pictures when I write. I see it's very visual for me. So it would make
Yeah.
sense. I would love to do some work scoring one day. I would love that.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell you what, composition is a lot of people, well, people have different approaches to it, and I like how you mentioned the idea of catching a moment, where Miles was in the elevator. He would just naturally catch the moment, just spontaneously see an image and then translate that to his playing. And so for me, composing is like my last recording. I literally would wake up in the mornings, and for me, the freest part of the day when I'm not encumbered with what I got to do is when I first wake up. And I found that I always wake up with these little melodies. So I literally would rush to get my phone and da 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 da, and I'm singing into the phone, and my wife is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I got to get this tune," you know. And so I made the whole recording based on tunes that they somehow I heard this melody when I was waking up, and to me they sound so much more natural. It's not that contrived, because you can learn a technique and learn about music theory, and then your tune will sound like music theory, you know.
Sure.
And then but you can hear an idea and spontaneously respond, and it can be beautiful. And it can be simple, you know what I mean? Simple is
Oh,
good.
simple is the best.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yes, I
So
love simple. And I also love that very fertile period between sleep and wakefulness.
oh yeah,
So many beautiful ideas come there.
that's
And it's
right.
important to keep your phones you can record, or a journal. Like,
Right.
I've always kept a journal. And that
Okay.
journal, yeah, that a journal has been like a companion in my life. And when I don't journal, I pay for it. Like,
Okay.
I'm not as individuated as a person or a writer.
Okay.
When I'm keeping my journal, I'm dialoguing with my subconscious, and it's healthier. And there are
Hmm.
beautiful ideas that come not only to me, but so many writers in that fertile period. So
Okay. Would you say that in your journal you get more lyric ideas, or would you say you get both musical and lyric ideas?
uh, both. I
Okay.
sometimes it's a concept too. Sometimes it's like a general concept, maybe more of a producer's thought about how I want to sound. Um, Sometimes it's a feel, and
Hmm.
with a feel with a melody and sounding a certain way.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a concept about, well, I like thinking I should be more honest about that period of my life and talk open that trap door of pain and let some of that out and
Right.
talk about it in a song, or gee, I should talk about my father, or sometimes it's like a topic or a concept or a sound or a groove.
Right.
And then sometimes it's lyrics too.
Right.
Where have all the cowboys gone? That started as a lyric and
Okay.
lyrics on the page, and it started as a rumba feel,
How about that?
nobody liked it.
Well, see, that's something that your listeners, they need to hear that type of thing, that some of the songs started a different way, And I'm going to take a moment just to say to our viewers who are enjoying this broadcast here, please type your questions in the Q&A section, and I'll ask maybe one or two more questions, and then we'll get to some of your questions. But please drop it on the line, everybody, so that we can ask Paula some of your questions as well. Okay. But yeah, so if you said, here, Todd, hold my cell phone, and I opened up your Spotify list or whatever you listen to music on, what would I find on Paula Cole's playlist? What would be on your playlist?
Ooh, I have a few playlists I've made when I've wanted to share music, sometimes with my students, so those are the only, and some are like about social political expression. Like I feel strongly about that. And
Okay.
it makes people uncomfortable sometimes, or maybe like I've been, I'm sure I've lost fans because I speak my mind,
Okay.
but I do feel like it's a delineator between entertainers and artists.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
do feel like it's part of my duty and the duty of those masters before me that I respect so dearly,
Right.
to be a voice, a social
Yeah.
political voice for others,
Yeah.
using the music for that purpose. So,
Right.
on that playlist, you'll find everybody from, Bob Marley to Bob Dylan to John Lennon to Joni Mitchell to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and
Yeah.
Nina Simone and Billie Holiday and NWA and Kendrick Lamar and
Yeah. Yeah.
Loretta Lynn,
Okay.
Loretta Lynn, the pill, right? She
Yeah.
was that was radical. Dolly Parton, the Bargain Store. People, radio banned Dolly Parton's the Bargain Store
Yeah.
because they felt she was being kind of too loose.
Mm-hmm.
That in her songwriting, that a woman shouldn't be provocative that way. And the pill, that was radical for Loretta Lynn to do that. And she just died. She was 90. So
Wow.
wishing you well, Loretta, and thank you for your contributions. But she's on my playlist, and you can see it's like stylistically varied.
Oh yeah.
And then sometimes I'm looking at like, well, who wrote father songs? What I think there's something about writing a father song that's really profound and healing, and we need healing amongst men in
Yeah.
being good men and good fathers in this society. So
That's huge.
yeah. So I think about that. So the
Yeah.
playlists are really about kind of concepts, and
Sure.
then a mixture of artists in each one. And of course, they're hugely varying.
Yeah.
Stylistically.
Nice.
That's me.
That's awesome. I was thinking about, you were saying about socio-political type statements in music. And I was thinking in terms of jazz, that was actually from the very beginning. Like Jelly Roll Morton, he had on his recordings like the sounds of a street in New Orleans. You know what I mean? He would have like work sirens, comical, commentary, and then he'd have like some noises, siren noises or whatever, and then they'd start the song. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And it actually gave you a picture into that society and how people use language and how there was humor you know, there were some things that were satirical. There's like all sorts of elements in that music. And he would just kind of put it all out there before technology, really, because they would have to get it all in there and then start the song before they ran out of, space on the LP.
That's right.
So that's really interesting.
Wow.
Thank you for your responses on that. Let's go to Miss Julia. Do you have any questions for us?
Oh, yes, we have questions already. And don't you know, as soon as you said that, my Facebook shut down on my phone, but I got it back here. We've got
Okay.
questions both here in Zoom, excuse me, and on Facebook. So let's get going because we've got quite a few here. Jay wants to know, he says, Paula, your cover of Great Gig in the Sky is stunning. Can you tell us a bit about how that cover came to be or your experience of Pink Floyd?
So one of my albums, oh gosh, I think it was for the Raven album. I did a Kickstarter self-funding campaign. I decided to stop with labels and self-fund, fan fund. And one of the prizes or pledges was that the fan could request the song I cover. So someone requested I sing Great Gig in the Sky. And, with that whole middle part, that beautiful wailing. And at the time I was working with this amazing guitar player. His name is Noe Soja. And he's blind. He's just profound. Like, he can play anything. So we just got together and he sounded amazing as he does. And I did my wailing bit, and it was kind of a broken down acoustic version of it. And yeah, we recorded it and put it up on YouTube in honor of the person who helped me out on my Kickstarter campaign for that. That's all. That's why. So it was just a, one take and moving on kind of thing.
Wow, that's a great story. I'm gonna have to listen to it, and it is on YouTube still.
I think so, yeah.
Yep. Great. Well, that's what I'll do after we finish tonight. Okay, we've got several more questions. This one's from Kristen. She says, as a songwriter with a vast catalog of beautiful compositions, how do you find pockets of connection with the songs you revisit during a live performance?
Right. Being connected is so important. Now, if I go to concerts, because I haven't been to enough concerts, having always being gigging myself, but when I do, it's so clear to me when a performer is truly connected to the music. Are they truly connected, or can you feel their mind wandering, or are they trying to look cool, with their cool faces that they're playing? It's I just want to feel connection. Are they present in the moment, which is kind of very Buddhist in a way? Are they present? I want to feel that connection. So does my mind wander? Absolutely. Do I try to reel it in? Do I leave my body sometimes? Yes and yes. So I try to reel it in. And how do I keep the pockets of connection is I focus on the lyrics. The lyrics help me ground, and they bring me into the meaning of the song. It's the lyrics that save me. So it's the songs that I have to sing so much, like the hits, where I start to leave my body a little bit.
Sure.
Because, it's like my motor memory, my muscle memory is doing it, and I'm somewhere out of my body looking down at myself doing the song sometimes. And I just have to get back into the meaning of the lyrics. So it's the lyrics that help me. And also changing the set list a lot is really helpful. It keeps it fresh. Keeps it fresh for me and for the true fans that are coming on repeat,
Right. Wonderful. That's a great answer. Okay, here's one from Vincent. Dearest Paula, when you write/record, how do harmonies come to you? Do you write with certain sections in mind, or is it more exploration and play while listening back? And then he says, also, is there any chance Postcards makes its way to a set list on this fall tour? Vincent, Stephen, and Anthony, the Bronx Boys.
Oh, hi, Vincent, Stephen, and Anthony. Love you guys. Thanks for asking about that process. I mean, sometimes it's very apparent that there needs to be like this background vocal section. For instance, Waiting on a Miracle from, I think that's my Ithaca album. I just knew like it needed to have this kind of soul-y section where voices are like horns, or, you know, that it's really a section. Also, there's a middle section of a song called You Will Never Know on the 7 album, where it's really like the voices are a soul-y section. And sometimes it's very clear to me like that. But usually it's when I'm listening back. I like to take my time in the production process if I can. You know, we track, we go into the studio, we track, we have the roughs. And then it's nice, you know, to kind of not take a break from it, kind of fast from the music for a little bit, and then put it on so it's fresh, and you just put it on repeat, and then I find myself singing parts to the music, so it's natural like that. And then more production ideas, background vocal ideas come, and I usually do write them down, unless it's so simple that I don't have to, but I usually do write the background vocal parts down on a you know, staff lines, and so I have it. I can be more economical when I go into the studio and it's all just written down, you know. But that's my process, unless it's like a very conscious written section. I do it in the overdubs. I do it later because I've spent time with the track and I'm singing along to the track. And so sometimes the hooks come that way, like do 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 do, you know, do 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 do. That was in the overdub section. Actually, that was in the mix section. That we were mixing that, and that's when that was very late in I Don't Want to Wait. And I love little hooks. I love like making. There's like something in the pop sensibility of crafting a finely honed gem of simplicity and hookiness that I really appreciate. So that, like, how can I make this verse pop? And it goes into a pre-chorus that's equally like hooky, and then the chorus is just woo, and then there's this background vocal like this. I really appreciate that earworm.
Yeah, it gives more meaning to the lyric. It makes the lyric, it's like, you know, ultimately I'm saying this, and then you have a hook thing, you know.
Yeah, and it lives on in people. Like if you
That's right.
earworm, then they're leaving that song, and it's
That's right. They can sing along. Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, my puppy has that in his mind because this whole week I've been singing that to him. I've had that going. So that's his earworm. Okay, we've got a few more questions. Let's see, we got just a couple minutes. So let's see if we can get to these real quick. This one from Facebook, from Stephen. Hi, Paula. I've always wondered what artist, well, this is kind of what Todd had asked you a minute ago. What artist or band is in your listening library that might surprise most people? Is there one artist that you really enjoy listening to that people would think, oh?
John Denver. I have a soft spot for John Denver. He's like a good man who loved nature, and he, you know, he did est. He wanted to improve himself and his relationships. I'm looking at let's see, I'm just looking on my Spotify playlist. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think John Denver probably does surprise people. John Dutchendorf, because I was a big fan, and that's his real name, or was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Let me throw out another question for you while you're looking that up. This one is from Rebecca. She says, hi, Paula. If you had the opportunity to invite anyone on stage to perform a duet with you, who is the first person that comes to mind?
Oh, hi, Rebecca. All these beautiful people. Well, like, could I bring people back from the dead?
Sure, why not?
I mean, you know, it would be wonderful to sing with Marvin Gaye. You know, he's just such a beautiful singer. Yeah, I mean, like, even when I was like in the process, because we did a cover of Mercy, Mercy Me, the Ecology on my Revolution album, and just learning his phrasing on that.
Right.
It's like, he is the deftest dancer rhythmically. He reminds me of like almost a Brazilian singer. It's like so sexy and in the pocket and like, ooh, you just anticipate on that 16th and that 16th, and it's just so dancing and so in the groove. It's like, he's stunning. Wow.
Mhm.
I mean, it would be fun to sing with Peter Gabriel again. I would love actually to do something with Tori Amos. I love her. That would be lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, all those sound good. Okay, we're
Awesome.
going to throw out one last question for you, Paula. This is from Dominic, and he says, Paula, I thank you for being genuinely you, for being an agent of change through your music, and for representing living an intrinsic life. Other than journaling, are there practices that center you and allow you to be more open to the creative process? Hugs from Kansas City.
Oh, hi, Dominic. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And well, of course, the journal, like you said. And sometimes I do need to slow down my breath. I'm a sensitive person. I get overwhelmed by the world. I have, I definitely have anxiety and depression, and it's not easy being in the music business. And it's a gift and it's a curse too, because you dedicate so much of yourself to it. Sometimes I feel like, hey, I've lost out on some other kind of natural life cycles that normal people don't, get always on the road and,
Right.
living in
Right.
music. They get to have that. I'm sure you can relate, but
Oh yeah. Mhm.
yep. So,
That's right.
um, so what do I do with this proclivity, with this sensitivity and my feeling too much? Sometimes it's very overwhelming. So I keep my good people close, and that's my band and people that I trust. I'm a high introvert, and I keep my like invisible force field around me sometimes, so that I have good people around me. And self-care is becoming increasingly important the older I get. So whether that's like prioritizing exercise, like I need to get stronger in my body, and that's quite healing to be doing those physical things of self-care. Baths, a good Epsom salt bath in the daylight with the daylight coming in, that's so joyful, or maybe like a masterpiece theater, like PBS series, just something to cool me down, nothing too
Yeah.
intense, um and reading and self-help, like, I'm always in self-help. I'll be honest, like I'm doing this one now, that's backwards, isn't it? Loving What Is by Byron Katie. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to the Tim Ferriss show, sometimes Dr. Peter Attia, but he's quite medical in his jargon. It's very difficult to understand everything, but um, and and of course the music, like if I can just keep that as fresh as possible. Also, I need to fast from social media sometimes, and that does mean like keeping a distance from everybody. But sometimes I get so down and depressed when I scroll through Instagram. I get so depressed. um, and all those comparison thoughts come
Right.
up, or I get
Right.
down like um, for silly things, and I just need to stay larger than that. So actually right now I'm having someone help me with my social media, because it's I just have to keep myself
Right.
happy, and even sometimes it's taking a hiatus from music, which I did. I took a 7-year hiatus once, and I have a feeling that there's one coming up maybe in a couple of years. I have some like important work that's going to come out first, but I almost want to know who I am. And like my mental health and my self-care is more important than me always throwing myself out there. I have to keep me well in order to make the best music and to be the best human being I am. So it's such an inward connection, and you have to listen to that
Mhm.
small, quiet voice within. That's it.
Bravo to you.
Beautiful answer. And I know I said that was the last question, but we had a last one just come in, but you kind of just answered it. He said, this is Mike, and he says, this is kind of an obtuse question, but he's a coach and he was always interested if physical fitness plays a role in your songwriting. And you just said that that was an important piece of maintaining, and yeah.
Yeah, and I also love to get an idea, like be at the piano, largely the piano, and have an idea that's gestating, and then I go out and I do something physical, whether it's a walk and then I get ideas and I sing in my phone like you do, Todd, or
Yeah.
I'm always doing that. I'm always singing ideas into my phone. Or
Mhm.
gardening is also like dealing with plants and the exercise and dealing with the consciousness of plants. I find is incredible. It's very inspirational when I'm writing. I just get a lot of ideas if I go and I garden, and then I go back to my process.
Mhm.
And physical. Right now I'm trying TRX. It's kicking my ass.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
my God. But I need to I need to get stronger because I'm at that age now. I need to really prioritize my health and my fitness because I want to be
Yeah,
alive and
that's right.
well in my body for a long
That's
time.
right.
Right.
That's
Well,
right.
Paula, we want to thank you for joining us today, and we are
Yes.
really excited to see you live and in person on October 20th in the Palladium. I just wanted to mention to everybody who's out there, as we said, Paula will be here on October the 20th, and we present all genres of music: pop rock, American Songbook, country, obviously jazz. But I want to list off some of the artists we have in our jazz series, since this is Jazz Talk. We opened this season with Herb Alpert and Trombone Shorty in one weekend. That was amazing. We have Diana Krall coming on October 11th, Chris Bode November 5th. We have a great show, Take Me to the River, NOLA Live, featuring Dumpsta Funk and George Porter Jr. and John Cleary on November 18th. We have Elaine Elias. She's Brazilian vocalist, jazz singer, pianist. She's amazing. November 20th. Dave Cause, one artist we have every year. He will be back on December 9th. In February, we have Bonnie James. In March, we have Sammy Miller and the Congregation. And then we round out our jazz season with Jonathan Butler on March 28th. So I hope you all can join us in person, but if not, please come back for Jazz Talk in the future, and we'll send you notices when we have these coming up. So for Todd and Paula and myself, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Have a great rest of your night.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
so much. Thanks, Paula. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.